Okay, so in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff you need for building Warhammer miniatures. Now the miniatures, if you've never built models before, they come on these sprues here. And let me just show you. You have an instruction manual, which you follow for assembling them. This particular one has decals for them, but they're all on these little sprues here. And the first thing as a modeler, you have to decide how you're going to get them off these little sprues. So you got to clip them or cut them off these little knurls here that attach them to the sprues. So probably the simplest way to do that at first is with an X-Acto blade. Makes a pretty clean cut. You can use the X-Acto blade to scrape off any plastic that remains on the piece that you're going to be gluing together or working with. So X-Acto blade's probably the main thing that you would need to start building outside of the glue. But my recommendation, if you do get an X-Acto blade, is that a box of 100 blades is not that much. They're, on Amazon they're about 11 bucks or so. There's a link below if you want to get some. But I would recommend that you get a box of these so that you can use a new one all the time. A nice sharp blade is going to give you a nice clean cut on anything you use it for, and also when you're scraping. Now the blades are sharp, so you don't want to throw them away without putting them in something. So I use an old pill bottle to throw all my blades in before I throw them away. That way they're protected. Nobody at the trash company is going to get hurt or anything like that by having them out in the open or reaching into your trash can. Now the other thing that you're going to absolutely need is some glue. And there are two types of glue you can work with. You can work with CA glue, which is what all of these are, and you can work with model plastic glue, which is what this one is. Now the plastic glue does have a lot of fumes, and it is flammable, but I do like the Citadel's glue, or at least the glue container. This nice small little application tube here works really good. You do have to clean it. A lot of people, I read a lot of people online have problems with it. I found that if you clean it off every time you use it, like once I'm done using it, I'll just wipe it off like that with my nails, pull off this excess here, and then put the lid back on it. And with the lid on it, it keeps it pretty open. Sometimes it will get clogged, and when that happens, one of the ways that I clear it out is by just using a napkin or a paper towel and just dragging it on there until it starts flowing out. So if you just take care of it, it stays flowing. Now the other type of glue that you're going to try or want to try is CA glue. And this stuff generally requires some kind of accelerator. It'll take a long time to dry by itself. Now there's a thin, there's a medium, and there's an extra thick or thick. Thin's not going to really work for these most of the time. I mean, something that's flat against flat and you can get a nice tight bond against it, thin will work. But most of the time you want the medium. The medium is probably the one that you're going to use. The gap filling medium one is probably the one that you're going to use all the time. Now, the accelerator comes in spray bottles, which is kind of difficult because you got these small pieces, you're trying to spray it, and it's not so easy. I mean, like if I'm trying to spray a little piece that I put on here and I spray this whole thing is getting wet. So one of the ways that you can apply it is you can actually use the hose here that attaches the sprayer, and you can use that to drop a drop of CA onto the area that you are on, accelerator, I'm sorry. Use it to drop a drop of accelerator onto the part that you need. Now the only problem with this, you still get a lot of accelerator on the part. Most of the time you want to put CA glue on one side and the accelerator on the other side before you join them. And so a small amount is all you need. You don't need much of that at all. Now, fortunately, I've been doing this for quite some time, and I was able to get one of these. This is a very small bottle with an applicator, and this is made for CA or for accelerator, CA accelerator, and it allows a very small drop to come out at a time. You can squeeze it or not squeeze it and get a very small drop of accelerator exactly where you want it. If you just rub it against there, it puts a nice little coat on there. So you don't have much of the way in the CA around it. Now you can see that this is an old bottle and actually got stuck to the bottom of a box where some CA broke open, or I think it fell over and leaked out and filled the box. So I don't want to do anything more here because I want to keep this. I like using this thing. I use it all the time. But without that, you can use this. Now, CA glue you don't really need for the plastic pieces, because CA glue, its bond is by coming together, and it creates its bond by basically physically hardening and sticking both of them together, and this is used as the bonding agent. Now with the plastic glue, it melts. It basically melts the two plastic pieces coming together, and then when they dry, they're actually fused together. So it's almost like plastic welding, you might say, them together. But CA glue you will need for certain models, such as this one here. This is Emotech Stormlord Necron character, and this is their fine cast, which is a resin, and this one is also another resin-based one. Now the plastic glue will not work with these. You're going to have to use the CA and Accelerator for these, and these do tend to help out the CA a little bit. But CA cures mostly by moisture. It doesn't necessarily cure by air drying as much. So blowing on it will help cure it. And blowing on this will also help cure it when you attach things. So those are the main things that you're going to need, is just this group of stuff right here to start building these models. Now you're probably going to want a decent pair of tweezers. I have these very fine tweezers here, and they work most of the time very well for me. I have a couple others, but this is the one I use most of the time. Now as you progress, you might want to try some other stuff. Now I do have some toothpicks here, and I also can use these toothpicks for the Accelerator for applying that. I can dip it in the Accelerator and use that as a dropper. You can also get like a very small eyedropper like these here, but even this has a very large opening, and it has a lot of Accelerator coming out. If you got a hypodermic needle, you could probably use that very effectively with the Accelerator to put a small amount of something. This is another choice for doing that. Now the one downfall that I do have, or the one gripe that I should say I do have about the Citadel glue, is that it is rather expensive, but it does last a long time. You can't do a lot of models, but you can also get the same glue like this Tamiya glue right here. This is the same stuff, and you get a much larger quantity for, you know, a cheaper price. And when this gets low, all you gotta do is just remove that lid and just pour this right in there. Now this does have an applicator. This has a brush applicator, very fine brush applicator. But the only problem with this is that this stuff does smell. So if you're in a small area, it can start to affect you quite a bit. So that's why I like using this. It's very little vapors coming out from that small opening there. Now another way that you can separate these pieces is by using a pair of cutters or even some dikes. And this particular one is the Citadel Cutters, and you know, they are rather expensive. I mean, I have to say, it took me a while before I purchased these, but after I purchased them, I realized that, yeah, I should have bought this in the first place, because I bought a pair of small dikes and used them for a while. They didn't work so well because they tend to chip off the pieces. It was hard to scrape them flat after that. And then I bought a couple other brands of cutters, modeling brands of cutters, and they were okay. But these are absolutely the best ones that I've used so far. And they do give a nice clean cut, they last forever, and they work quite well. Now the other thing is this little scraper here from Citadel. Again, costly, it is pricey. But this little piece right here, when you use it to scrape any excess plastic that's left over from these sprues here that are on the piece there, and you scrape it flat against the flat edge, it smooths it out really well. And it also works very well on circular things, that when you want to try and get the sprue mark off there, this works very well for that. So both these things are costly, but they will most likely, unless you lose them, last your lifetime. So if you really start getting into these and you're building a lot of these, you want these two tools. They will set you back a bit, but they are worth getting. So right there, that's the basic things that you're going to need once you start building these models here. It's a blast, it's a lot of fun, and it can be very addictive, and you end up with a lot of sprues and things to put together. But having all these particular tools right here are going to get you through your first model assembly. So if you like this video, please do give the video a like and also subscribe. I will have more information coming out on how to build, how to paint, how to do everything that's Warhammer on this channel. So please do subscribe, and hopefully you'll be around for my next video. Thanks for watching this one.